Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to NoDQ video here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift_NoDQ. This is episode number 1075. So let's go ahead and get started with your questions. First one today comes from Jason. When and if the New Day break up, would you be interested in Kofi Kingston being the one to initially turn heel? We haven't really seen what he can do as a heel. Interesting question here. Now, when Sami Zayn turned heel, I was hesitant about it at first, but he turned out to really excel in the role as a heel. He broke out of his shell and he just became a great heel by being overly annoying and obnoxious. Maybe Kofi Kingston has that in him as a character. Maybe he could be a really effective heel. See, generally, I'm not really a fan of a guy who's known as a high flyer to go heel because the high flying is his strong suit. You look at Ricky Steamboat, he was a high flyer and he never really went heel in his entire career. There were a few guys over the years that just had that likable personality. They were high flyers and they're just a better fit for being a good guy. With Kofi, I sense that he's better off being a good guy, but you never know. I still think it would be better if Xavier was the one that turned. I sense that Xavier of the three is the strongest promo. And I think Big E would do good as a singles babyface. But perhaps we could get a surprise and Kofi Kingston could one day go heel and turn out to be a surprisingly good heel. But I really feel that this is a moot point for the most part because I don't sense they're turning heel anytime soon. Based off of recent interviews, it feels like the New Day is going to be around for the long haul. Do I think it's a great idea? Not really. I'm over the New Day, to be honest, but I sense they're going to be sticking around as a team for quite some time. Got this one here from M. Compton. Do you think the hardcore title could work today? Have it like an open brand title 24/7, not just exclusive to one show. I have gotten similar questions to this. I don't think the hardcore title would work in today's era. First of all, WWE is PG. Second of all, they don't do a lot of the stiff weapon shots that they used to, particularly to the head, chair shots, whatnot. They don't really use barbed wire. For the most part, they use kendo sticks and they use those leaf blowers, among other things. I'm sure in some promotions they use the leaf blowers. It's just a different era now, and I'm not sure the hardcore title would really fit in with today's era, and safety as well. They're working a safer style, and I just don't feel like they could do the crazy stuff that they were doing before. Although I remember with Crash Holly, it got to the point where they were doing a lot of comedy, you know, him wrestling in a ball pit for the hardcore title and that sort of thing. I just feel like do something different, change it up, introduce a new championship, something we haven't seen before, rather than going back to the past. But that's just my own personal opinion on it. Got this one here from Turbonius. Do you think we could see The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania where The Rock beats Reigns, goes for a handshake after the match, and Roman turns heel, similar to Y2J and HBK at WrestleMania 19? That's one way you could do it, but I think we all can have our theories about Roman Reigns. I think it's all highly unlikely in all likelihood that he ever goes heel. I just don't think WWE is going to pull the trigger on it. If they were going to do it, they would have done it. It's like John Cena, where after a certain point, you miss the real opportunity, and at that point, there's really not a whole lot of sense in doing it. I feel like Roman Reigns is just going to be this character now for as long as he is in WWE. I know that sucks, it lacks creativity, but it is what it is. I do like the idea, though, of maybe Reigns losing at WrestleMania to somebody like The Rock and actually going full-blown heel and turning against somebody who is like a family member to him. I think that that would be really effective. But again, I think the odds of it happening are slim. Got this one here from James. After such terrible booking of all the titles in recent months, which title do you think has the most credibility and best booking right now? I would go with the IC title. I think that it has been booked overall very well. Although I was not a big fan of what happened at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view with the Iron Man match. I was very vocal about that. I was not a fan of doing 7-8 falls in 15 minutes. And I wasn't a fan of how the finish was done with Rollins failing to get the job done, and then Kurt Angle gives him another shot only for him to still fail. Just did not like how that played out. But overall, with Rollins as champion, I felt like it has definitely helped the title, and also the fact that the Universal title hasn't been around, I feel like that helped as well. That forced WWE to book the IC title in a headline position on Monday Night Raw more often. If the Universal title was around and we had a champion who showed up every week, who knows if the IC title would have been booked as well. And as far as the other titles are concerned, women's title, both brands, I feel, have issues. Tag titles, same thing. WWE title has been booked fairly well, except for the fact that AJ doesn't get put in the main event spots on pay-per-views when it is the title that goes back to the beginning since 1963. Got this one here from Arthur. What would you do to make Bobby Roode a much more interesting character to watch? I liked him a lot in NXT. Well, the obvious answer here is to turn the guy heel, because the fans are starting to lose interest in him. His glorious entrance isn't getting the big pops that it used to get. And I feel like he just needs a change with his character. If it's not working, it's not connecting with the audience, you have to change things up. I think he's one of those guys at the very top of the list that could really benefit from going heel. I think that's a very easy fix for him. I feel like in TNA, he proved that he could be a really effective heel. And he was actually a heel for a good part of his TNA run, other than when he was teaming up with James Storm. They became quite popular as beer money, but most of the time he was a heel, whether it was Team Canada or turning against Storm and being the world champion. He was a heel most of the time in TNA, and he did a really good job at it. So I say go with it. Turn him heel and just let him be a cocky prick, because he does well in that role. Got this one here from Mr. Yuck. I rarely hear much about Paige as the GM of SmackDown Live in positive nor negative ways too. What do you think of her role, its longevity or potential, if any? Honestly, it is rather bland not having a charismatic authority figure. So far, Paige just isn't lighting the world on fire. Well, I can understand that. Now, the thing about Paige, obviously the injury forced WWE to find out something for her to do. She does have her movie coming out soon, and WWE wants to keep her on television and make sure she has a presence on the shows with that movie coming out. I think the GM role is fine. There could be better options out there. But at the same time, if you had somebody who's too big of a star or too charismatic, then they'll have the tendency to outshine the other people on the brand. So you really don't want that. I think Paige is a nice balance where she has some personality, but it's not too over the top to the point where she's outshining everybody else. She has a role, she does it, and I think she's good at it. She doesn't have to be great at it, but it gives her something to do, and I'm okay with it for now. I don't see the need to change her out right away. At some point, you'll want to change things up and get somebody fresh in there, but right now, I say just let her do her thing. I think it's fine. This one comes from Joshua Anderson. Why does WWE have a problem with guys who get over organically? Because WWE wants control. They are a major corporation. They dominate the marketplace in the United States, and they feel like they own everyone. And if you're getting over on your own without the corporate machine behind you, they don't like it. That has been Vince's attitude for the longest time. He likes to push his creations, things that are his ideas. If it's not his idea, then he has a hard time going with it. Look at WCW. Vince could never let those WCW guys get one over on his homegrown talent. And the WCW guys that did come in and got pushes, they had to be molded into WWE superstars. They had to get WWE-ized, so to speak. Look at Goldberg with the wig when he was forced to put on Goldust's wig and become more of a sports entertainer, because the WCW Goldberg wasn't Vince's idea. And somehow in 2016 and 2017, we got the old Goldberg again, which that in itself is quite remarkable. But yeah, it's just the general idea that WWE, they come up with the ideas. It's their company, their baby, and if you're not in line with what they're doing and you're going into business for yourself, they don't like it. Case in point, Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder was doing his thing on the internet with the Z True Hollywood Story. He was building some momentum for himself, and WWE refused to really capitalize on it. Yeah, they gave him a little bit of a push, but they basically booked him as a complete joke to the point where fans no longer cared about him. They just made him the most unlikable character. They booked him like a loser, and eventually the fans are going to lose interest in the guy. So yeah, it's really unfortunate when guys do get over on their own, but WWE pretty much just ends it before it really has a chance to make serious money. Very weird, but WWE is a company that is making a ton of money, and they can do what they want, unfortunately. And the computer agrees with me. Got this one here from SCW Wrestling Channel. Hey Aaron, with WWE pay-per-views getting longer in recent months, should WWE introduce a halftime 15-minute interval in the middle of pay-per-views? WWE can get reactions from kickoff panels or first half of the show. Fans in attendance and at home can refresh for the second half of the show. It feels like they have already been doing that to a small degree, like with WrestleMania. Halfway through, they would do the panel and have people recap what happened on the show earlier. They were even doing that a little bit during Extreme Rules. And even on Raw, they get these little breaks where the announcers just recap what happened. So WWE is doing it. Now, should they do like a full-blown, maybe 30-minute to an hour intermission on these longer shows? Yeah, it might be a good idea just to give people a break. They can maybe get something to eat or go outside or do any number of things. Call somebody. Their ass better call somebody. And just take a breather from wrestling for a little bit. So I'm all for it for the longer shows like WrestleMania. Maybe even consider doing like a Super Bowl style halftime show, and that's when you bring in the musical acts for the halfway point. Bring in your Flow Rider, whoever you want. I mean, preferably not Flow Rider, but whoever they want ultimately is what they're going to do. But yeah, I do like the idea for the longer shows, definitely. Got this one here from Tristan Quick. Seth Rollins lost the title for no reason. Like, did McMahon make Rollins lose the IC title so his momentum was stunted and he didn't get too over to the point that he would have to face Lesnar at SummerSlam? Or is it an example of WWE failing to book long term? I feel like it's more the case of WWE not booking long term. They have overall been really protective of Seth Rollins. He's one of those few guys that I think has been positioned into a main event spot. He's never in those segments, like for instance, the Pull Apart Brawl. You had Finn Balor out there, you had Bobby Roode out there, but you did not have Seth Rollins out there. And to me, that's very telling that he is one of those guys that they are protecting. Perhaps they have thought about the idea of Rollins facing Lesnar. I would personally like to see it, but who knows what they're going to do with him at SummerSlam. This is just the noise edition of No DQ video. The cat's in the litter box now. Gotta love it. We keep on moving here. Hopefully the noise hasn't been too distracting for you guys. If it is, I apologize. I could try to record another time, but just going to go with this here and hope for the best. But yeah, I feel like Rollins, for the most part, is protected, and I don't know if he was ever in the plans for the Universal title. But at the same time, they're still positioning him like a top guy, at least how I see it. All right, that'll wrap it up for episode number 1075 of No DQ Video. Thank you all very much for watching. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest in WWE. If you like the cats and you want more of that, head over to my personal channel at youtube.com/AaronRift. And that'll do it for this episode of No DQ Video.